Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 Origin Continent based on novel. So let's start. Primogenitor Yang Feng, Emperor Qing, an East Extreme Domain ancestor Feng, she was still standing by, but the Thunder ancestor had left on his own, visibly in a poor mood. With the restriction on power, I relied on two super-secret treasures to gain a slight upper hand. Luo Feng felt no pride, but instead became more acutely aware of the gap between himself and the powerful beings outside the source world. After leaving the land of origin, I must be more cautious. These two great secret treasures are specifically for aiding in cultivation, and they won't be taken out of the land of origin. Outside the land of origin, one must rely on their own strength to make their way. Brother Galaxy. Emperor Qing said with a smile, I really didn't expect you to win this bet. It truly surprised us. Primogenitor Yang Feng was also taken aback, as he looked at Luo Feng. He knew very well that there were 4 stages above the godly king. The gap between the first stage, early stage of Divine Emperor, and the 4th stage, perfection of Divine Emperor, was simply too vast. Even with the power restrictions, the difference in realms was still significant. Although the super-secret treasures are special, Primogenitor Yang Feng and the others were not unfamiliar with them. This galaxy, perhaps, is one of those dazzling existences among billions of worlds, thought Primogenitor Yang Feng, who had also encountered many dazzling beings while adventuring outside the source world. Compared to those dazzling beings, the two of them were too ordinary. Galaxy, by winning this bet, there will be an additional rule in the land of origin from now on: the great sinners must die without doubt, the East Extreme Domain ancestor also said with a smile, pleased with the outcome. She is the most merciful among the divine emperors and has no blood connection with the native lives of the land of origin, yet she still chooses to protect them. This bet was somewhat lucky, Luo Feng remarked, knowing that if he hadn't obtained the Eye of Life and Death, just relying on the Star Tower, he couldn't have defeated the Thunder ancestor. Galaxy, if you have time later, you can visit the East Extreme Domain. East Extreme Domain ancestor Feng, she smiled slightly. Definitely. Luo Feng nodded. The East Extreme Domain ancestor then immediately took her leave. Galaxy. Primogenitor Yang Feng then said, why not visit my ancient flame wind country? Sure. Luo Feng agreed. Having borrowed the status of a guest elder in the ancient flame wind country during his weaker years, he had received some inheritances, and been able to enter the infinite space treasure vault, and also had the help of his master Emperor Chu. Speaking of which, Primogenitor Yang Feng also had shown kindness to him. In the ancient flame wind country, atop a towering mountain, Primogenitor Yang Feng, Emperor Qing, and Luo Feng each took a seat, with puppet lives serving delicious food and wine. This is where I usually reside in seclusion. Primogenitor Yang Feng looked at the surrounding mountain ranges. Apart from me, there are only some puppets. I really like the tranquility here. Primogenitor Yang Feng smiled at Luo Feng. Galaxy, once you go outside the source world, you will truly cherish the peaceful days within the land of origin. Oh? Luo Feng was accustomed to the peace of the land of origin. For him, within the land of origin, no one could threaten him. Outside the source world, even when cultivating within a cave mansion, there might be some very special low-level primordial life that could sneak into your cave mansion to mount a sneak attack. Primogenitor Yang Feng shook his head, death could come at any time. We who come from the source world are fine, as long as we cultivate an avatar, at least one remains in the source world. Those rising powerhouses from the billions of worlds, however, don't have the clone technique, and their situation is even worse. To survive, they resort to any means necessary. Emperor Qing also nodded. Outside the source world, our main opponents are low-level primordial life, but we also need to be wary of attacks from other cultivators. They don't have the clone technique. Indeed, they are more prone to desperation, Luo Feng nodded. There are two types of cultivators within the braided cage. Primogenitor Yang Feng explained. One type is the lives hailing from the source world, which is a vast world naturally nurtured and containing supreme rules. The other type is from the billions of worlds created by Senior Yuan, where many creatures naturally possess the primordial bloodline, making their cultivation easier. Born with the primordial bloodline. Luo Feng was surprised. Like the primordial bloodline creatures I have cultivated, Primogenitor Yang Feng said, the creatures I've cultivated are low in intelligence. But Senior Yuan and the others can integrate this primordial bloodline into intelligent life forms. They possess sufficient intelligence and comprehension, and also have the boost of the primordial bloodline. Thus, the cultivators out in the source world are mostly dominated by the powerhouses of the billions of worlds. Our starting point is lower, typically only reaching true God after birth, and cultivation is harder. It's many times tougher than for those born with the primordial bloodline. But our potential is greater. We can also cultivate the clone technique, stated Primogenitor Yang Feng. Luo Feng now understood the two main types of camps among cultivators. One type are the naturally nurtured beings, and the other type are the creatures from the billions of worlds created by Senior Yuan. Once out in the source world, you can experience various cultivation systems, hunt down various low-level primordial life, and interact with powerhouses from the billions of worlds in the dark, all helping you to go further, Primogenitor Yang Feng continued. But the real treasures, the competition out in the source world is simply too fierce. The best way for us to obtain treasures is still within the land of origin, Emperor Qing also nodded. Special life remnants? Luo Feng asked. Yes. Primogenitor Yang Feng nodded. Both the dark area of the dream domain and the depths of the heavenly pillar realm offer a chance to obtain a portion of special life remnants. But in both places, you are limited to obtaining just one portion. Just one portion. Luo Feng was unaware of this information. For example, if you enter the dark area of the dream domain and obtain a portion of special life remnants after much effort, you will be immediately expelled and will not be able to re-enter. Primogenitor Yang Feng explained, this must be a rule set by Senior Yuan. Thus, adding together both the dream domain and the heavenly pillar realm, a life can obtain at most 2 portions of special life remnants. As divine emperors, it is relatively easy to obtain, Primogenitor Yang Feng said. This is also the most important treasure for us divine emperors of the land of origin. As for innate secret treasures, secret technique, it all depends on luck. Primogenitor Yang Feng smiled and said, remember, do not easily sell the special life remnants. If you really want to sell them, you can ask me. I can offer a high price. Understood. Luo Feng nodded and asked, by the way, what are these special life remnants? Dream realm space. It should be the corpse of a very special world-level primordial life, with the corpse as the foundation, forming countless dream realm spaces, said Primogenitor Yang Feng. The heavenly pillar realm should also be the corpse of a world-level primordial life. The corpse of a world-level primordial life is immensely huge. A little bit of flesh, scales, and fur taken apart can yield over 100 million parts. Primogenitor Yang Feng continued, Senior Yuan has hidden these remnants in the most core area, and with sufficient strength, one could hope to obtain them. Within the land of origin, these 2 treasure sites are also the most important. The other sites are much less valuable, said Primogenitor Yang Feng. Also, the infinite space is special. It is connected to a large number of source worlds at the same time. Luo Feng understood. Other treasure sites are visited directly by the true body. Only the infinite space is accessed through an opportunity that allows a strand of consciousness to descend remotely. The land of origin has utilized 2 corpses of world-level primordial life. It seems that Senior Yuan and the others have killed quite a number of world-level primordial life, realized Luo Feng at this moment, understanding that the higher-level killings must be very intense. Our greatest crisis is actually the attacks on the land of origin by the innate primordial life groups, said primogenitor Yang Feng. If one day, the innate primordial life group attacks the land of origin and devours it, then we are finished. Does this happen often? Asked Luo Feng. Quite a lot. Primogenitor Yang Feng nodded. Our cultivators camp and the innate primordial life camp are in conflict, and we are at a disadvantage. Even recently, an important world group, Shell Valley World Group, specifically used for cultivating divine emperors, has completely lost contact, presumably fallen, also said Emperor Qing. Billions of worlds, cultivating divine emperors, all gone. And multiple source worlds near the Shell Valley World Group are probably gone too. Luo Feng listened in shock. Both camps fight so fiercely. Outside the source world, there are opportunities and resources aplenty, but the environment is extremely harsh. It's because our whole cultivator camp situation is not good. We need more cultivators to step out of the braided cage, said primogenitor Yang Feng. Only by stepping out of the braided cage can we participate in the war between the two camps. Primogenitor Yang Feng and Emperor Qing shared many secret information with Luo Feng, also intending to support each other along the way forward. These things are all far from us. Our most urgent task is to seize the resources in front of us, Emperor Qing said, sending information to Luo Feng. This is the information on the deep areas of the Dream Realm Dark Area and Heavenly Pillar Realm. The Dream Realm Dark Area is constantly changing, so my information can only be taken as a reference. The deep area of the Heavenly Pillar Realm hasn't changed. You should look into it more. First, get the special life remnants from these two places, said Emperor Qing. Thanks, Luo Feng felt the goodwill from the two. Beyond the braided cage, the war between the two camps was too distant for him. There was no need to think too much about it. Mount Leitang. The ancestor was furious and went to find the galaxy ruler himself, thought Lan Duo monarch in his own cave mansion. Afterward, he even went to the universe ocean area for a great battle. Unfortunately, that battle was beyond my ability to spy. Lan Duo monarch was quite excited. The ancestor personally intervening might cause the galaxy ruler to change his attitude, no longer hindering his pillaging of creatures. I wonder what the situation of this battle was. With the power limitations of the land of origin, the galaxy ruler will surely survive, but in front of the ancestor, he will definitely suffer. Lan Duo monarch had immense faith in his own ancestor. Humph! Suddenly, a cold snort sounded in Lan Duo monarch's consciousness. Then, terrifying thunder exploded within Lan Duo monarch's soul, a thunder with the power to annihilate souls. This is the terror of the primordial bloodline path. Though not understanding the soul path, one could exploit the bloodline talents. Luo Feng had faced Thunder Ancestor before, subjected to simultaneous attacks on physical body, soul and spirit, but of course, Luo Feng could easily withstand them. But facing terrifying thunder that could destroy the soul and annihilate the physical body, reaching the power limits of the land of origin, without the protection of Mount Leitang, Lan Duo monarch could not withstand it. Saw the novel, IA.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Ancestor. At the moment of death, Lan Duo monarch knew who had killed him. He was unwilling, unbelieving. But in an instant, his consciousness was extinguished. From today onwards, the great sinners, who have devoured millions of creatures on the land of origin, will all be executed. The voice of Thunder Ancestor resounded in the consciousness of every king in the ancient country. White Demon, Lan Duo succumbed one after another, along with the command issued by Thunder Ancestor and primogenitor Yang Feng on the same day. Naturally, this caused a huge uproar throughout the land of origin. All forces understood that the order in the land of origin had changed, and from now on, there was a new rule that including emperors, monarchs, and those in the ultimate realm, no one could defy. Huyang City, atop the high tower of the city owner's mansion. Luo Feng was drinking alone. 9 Rivers Sacred Realm. Luo Feng muttered to himself. The information provided during the gathering with primogenitor Yang Feng, Emperor Qing, and himself, revealed much. Only when one reaches the ultimate realm life form, could one traverse through a transmission passage within Land of Origin, leaving Land of Origin, usually to a randomly chosen destination, unless the exact coordinates are set during transmission. The world where Emperor Qing resides is known as 9 Rivers Sacred Realm, which is a convergence of numerous source world powerhouses and countless world-level strong ones. Emperor Qing, he is in the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm. Those qualified to be here, the weakest are ultimate realm life forms. And the higher-ups can reach half primordial level. Primogenitor Yang Feng is in the Dark Sacred Realm, where the entry threshold is extremely high. Primogenitor Yang Feng, Thunder Ancestor, are merely slightly stronger than the entry-level requirement. In the Dark Sacred Realm, the resources are much more abundant than in the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm. Luo Feng is too far from what's called the threshold of the Dark World. Generally, only those who are the enlightened in the late stages of Divine Emperor could hope to enter. Whether it's 9 Rivers Sacred Realm, Dark Sacred Realm, or some other places, they are all for the likes of Senior Yuan to cultivate us, the weaker ones. Luo Feng also understood this. Without Star Tower, Eye of Life and Death, my strength is still a bit too weak. The Eye of Life and Death opened at Luo Feng's brow, looking far off in the direction of the dream domain. With the exception of the infinite space not in the Land of Origin, Luo Feng could peek into all other sacred places. Under the observation of the Eye of Life and Death, it rapidly penetrated layers of spatial barriers, and saw the core layer, the dark area. The dark area, where only spiritual will could probe, but the Eye of Life and Death could clearly see everything. There is only one space in the dark area. Luo Feng watched. The entire dream domain looked like a massive sphere, with countless bubbles inside, each bubble an independent space. The outermost dream realm spaces were the most numerous, the middle layer had fewer, the deeper layer even less, and the core dark area had only one space. This one space was extraordinarily stable. The ground was cast from black metal, engraved with secret patterns. The trees grew tangled from innumerable metals. The rivers were even more convergences of shining liu guang. Here, the weakest creatures are emperor and monarch level. The most powerful touched upon the limits of Land of Origin's power, and some of their conflicts were enough to make even Luo Feng change color. Even I can't bring the Eye of Life and Death, Star Tower inside, Luo Feng understood, although the strongest dream realm creatures in the dark area are at the limit of power. However, in some areas, there are simply too many dream realm creatures. Under the observation of the Eye of Life and Death, one could see an area where hundreds of serpentine creatures converged, each one frolicking with others, and their commotion could touch the limit of Land of Origin's power. If hundreds of serpentine creatures were to attack, it would be like having hundreds of Emperor Qing attacking. Luo Feng thought, even if I hide inside the Star Tower, I would be completely trapped and unable to escape. The Star Tower's power was also limited. 1 against hundreds. How to fight? Even if primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder Ancestor came, it wouldn't help. There are quite a few special life remnants. Under the observation of the Eye of Life and Death, Luo Feng saw countless of them, scattered all over the place. Or deep within a river, where hundreds of thousands of remains could be found, a single bone, a piece of scale, a strand of muscle. Deep within the mountains, some were also hidden. But there was one thing in common, all of them required exploring deep within the dark area. With my Eye of Life and Death, I can only see the appearances of these special life remnants, unable to peer inside, Luo Feng frowned. I cannot determine their exact value. Using his own eye of life and death, perhaps comparable to an ordinary high-level primordial life's observational ability. But to see through the essence of special life remnants at a glance was simply not possible. I can only bring one piece back. After getting one, I would be expelled, never able to enter again, Luo Feng pondered. His eye of life and death carefully observed rivers, mountains, underground, jungles. Comparing various corpse materials one by one. This piece, it looks unusual, Luo Feng eventually focused on one piece of material. It was a dark golden pointed horn. This dark golden horn was deep within the underground maze, where hundreds of creatures resembling centipedes were perched, all of which seemed to be worshipping this horn. Watching the entire dream domain's dark area with my eye of life and death, this is the only horn-like material. And the creatures guarding it are quite strong, Luo Feng thought. This is the one. See a thnovlia.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. An exceedingly terrifying life form. If it had a horn, moreover a single horn, it must be greatly useful. Let's look at the heavenly pillar realm. Luo Feng turned his head and carefully observed the whole heavenly pillar realm with the eye of life and death. Deep within the heavenly pillar realm, the most eye-catching feature was a winding polluted blood river. Any godly king of the second realm who touched this polluted blood river would die immediately. Even their avatars in the outer realms would perish due to soul pollution. Moreover, there were massive bone mountains, with countless crevices inside them, resembling a maze. There were also an abundance of lush plants, growing on the banks of the polluted blood river, and within the bone mountains, rooting deep into the ground. The dream domain, I can see through at a glance. However, in the heavenly pillar realm, there are about 1 or 2/10 of the region that I can't see clearly, the polluted blood river within I can't see clearly, the bone mountains I can only see the surface, the deepest parts are unclear. As well as the deep underground, Luo Feng shook his head slightly. The polluted blood river, it should be the blood contamination formed by world-level primordial life. Luo Feng was somewhat certain. Such blood that not even his eye of life and death could see through would definitely not be from the blood of life within the braided cage. It is said that within the polluted blood river, bone mountains, and deep underground, it's easy to breed innate secret treasures, laughed Luo Feng. What was strange was that whether it was in the dream domain, or the heavenly pillar realm, Luo Feng did not see any innate secret treasures. The innate secret treasures seemed to be hidden very well. As for special life remnants, Luo Feng looked at the heavenly pillar realm, remnants are everywhere. The entire polluted blood river is composed of remnants, and every bone mountain is made of remnants. Luo Feng realized this, but he also knew that he had no way to take them. Just by looking, Luo Feng could tell how overwhelmingly heavy they were, and the intimidation they posed was terrifying. This is it. After carefully examining the massive amounts of remnants in the depths of the heavenly pillar realm, Luo Feng finally made a choice. As observed with the eye of life and death, there were a total of 289 bone mountains, and within the central one of those bone mountains, there was a long segment of black bone, divided into 9 sections. These 9 segments of black bone, I should be able to take one section, thought Luo Feng. Although the heavenly pillar realm was guarded by 2 imperial clans, they did not dare to hinder the galaxy ruler. Luo Feng sent out a powerful avatar, whose physical body alone possessed the strength of a divine emperor level, and made his way deep into the Bone Mountain range. Despite the ever-increasing pressure, this intimidation still fell within the limits of the land of origin. Luo Feng reached the core, entering deep into that bone mountain, looking at the towering 9 segments of black bone. The 9 segments of black bone emitted a terrifying aura. As soon as Luo Feng touched it, an intangible message transferred to him. He could only take away one segment, and once taken away, he would not be able to take any more special life remnants. As Luo Feng moved it, he felt an immense weight, and then he stored it inside the divine-level secret treasure, water drop flying boat he carried with him. The special life remnants of the heavenly pillar realm were relatively easy for Luo Feng to obtain. However, the dark golden horn in the dream domain was very difficult to attain. Luo Feng had attempted hundreds of times, and each time he failed. Fortunately, his avatar's life force was strong enough that trying hundreds of times didn't cause too much energy depletion. With the Eye of Life and Death assisting from afar, I still failed. Luo Feng had no choice but to set it aside for now. After over 200 eras, employing the 3-9 branches fusion secret method of the Great Tao of Life and Death in tandem, and with multiple avatars working together, assisted by long-range observation of the Eye of Life and Death, and by luring away the opponent and desperately restraining, he finally obtained that dark golden sharp horn. Since then, the two most important treasures that divine emperors within the land of origin could generally obtain, the two special life remnants, were in his hands. These two treasures are indeed extraordinary, Luo Feng observed under the Eye of Life and Death. The single horn and one segment of the black bone contained endless mysteries within themselves. Although they were slightly inferior to the Eye of Life and Death, they were of the same level and even more simple and pure. The single horn actually contains the mysteries of spiritual will, Luo Feng exclaimed in awe. The secret patterns within the single horn, spiritual will seem to dominate. This segment of black bone has the mystery of being indestructible. Luo Feng peered into the composition of the black bone. How could the growth of life be so indomitably indestructible? Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Luo Feng immersed himself in his cultivation, and the land of origin also returned to calm. Under the joint orders of the galaxy ruler, primogenitor Yang Feng, and Thunder Ancestor, the great sinners of the entire land of origin no longer had a footing to exist. Even those who were lucky enough to secretly consume some tribes to aid their own cultivation were in constant fear and trepidation, as Morosa and a group of patrollers might find them at any moment. Unbeknownst to many, the bet between Luo Feng and Thunder Ancestor had also passed for about 500 eras already. In Flame-Wind ancient country, within a vast space, 11 thoughts converged, forming the figures of 11 emperors. That guest official Luo, he has been the Garrison commander of the Heavenly Pillar Realm for 1,000 eras, Di Yang said. It is time for him to leave. The task of Heavenly Pillar Realm Garrison, no guest elder can be assigned consecutively. The role of Garrison for the Heavenly Pillar Realm was a coveted assignment for the guest's elders. Di Yang and the others typically used it to reward some obedient guest elders. Having Luo he occupied it for over 1,000 eras, Di Yang and the others were naturally displeased. A guest elder who does not understand hierarchy, yet we let him hold the position for over 1,000 eras, Di Wu's face was icy cold. She had personally threatened Luo He, forcing him to accept another task, but in the end, Emperor Chu had protected his own disciple. Emperor Chu had a deep hatred with her, naturally. She was also full of hostility towards Luo He. Since the term is over, it is natural to replace him. Emperor Chu glanced at Di Wu, not caring in the slightest. This video will end here.